how good is Bijan Robinson? How many people know that?
He's probably the best back in the league this year, easily.
Well, I think it's Gibbs, but whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I think has Bijan had a better year
Yeah,
statistically?
he
Yeah,
has.
talent
I mean,
wise,
he
I'm
leads
fine with you
he
saying Gibbs.
leads the NFL in all-purpose
Yeah,
yards from
I'm fine
scrimmage.
with you talent wise going Gibbs because that dude's unbelievable too.
Yeah.
Both of them are really incredible. And welcome in everybody to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 as we are set to almost wrap up the 2025 year. Here in another edition of Birds 365 live with you for the next couple hours. I'm joined by John McMullen, host of Birds 365. J Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning after another interesting game in the NFC last night?
Yeah, man. Couple pet peeves. One, the NFC stinks. I mean, let's be honest. It stinks on ice. It really does. And it might be better than the AFC, which tells you there's no good teams in the NFL right now. Well, there's a bunch of good teams. There's no great teams. But that's number one with the LA Rams. You can't lose that game. Number two with the Atlanta Falcons. What are we doing? What are we doing in this league? They win that division easily if they're playing Kirk Cousins. Easily. And he stays healthy, obviously. That's a caveat to everything. Yeah. I mean, easily. It's the worst division in football. 8 and 9 is going to win it, probably. But he's not going to win the Super Bowl.
He's going to win the division. Oh.
But he's not going to win the Super Bowl. Well, you got to try Michael Penix. You got to. And they paid him whatever they paid him, $100 million to come there. That's not good enough to win the division. These are Ricky Bobby rules. If you don't, you're not in a position to win the Super Bowl, so you throw a whole season out with these garbage quarterbacks. I got a lot of pet peeves today. We need a pet peeve only. It drives me insane. They win that division easily. And again, you start thinking about wasting players, wasting Bijan Robinson. People talk about it here, but the Eagles win. Imagine if you don't win. Like, how good is Bijan Robinson? How many people know that?
He's probably the best back in the league this year, easily.
Well, I think it's Gibbs, but whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I think has Bijan had a better year statistically?
Yeah. He has. I mean, he leads the NFL in all-purpose yards from scrimmage.
I'm fine with you talent-wise going Gibbs because that dude's unbelievable too. Yeah. Both of them are really incredible.
And different setups, and Montgomery's got to get involved and all that stuff. But either way, they're both great. Yeah, it's just I think Gibbs is the most difficult matchup, but they're both great. I mean, you're winning that division in a walk if you just have competency at the quarterback position. But that's not good enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they got to try and prepare for the future. I don't know. I just don't understand why they paid Kirk when they did. But it is what it is, John. They win the game last night. What'd you make of the Rams? I mean, there's a good chance the Rams are the wild card round, matchup.
Well, they're definitely a wild card team. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're either going to be 5 or 6, and the Eagles are either going to be 2 or 3. So they could end up matching versus the Rams. The loss last night makes that a little bit more likely. What did you make of the Rams last night, man? They're not, boy, as good as they were earlier in the year. They might be sputtering a little bit here as we get ready for the playoffs.
Well, not might be. I mean, I guess from their perspective, all the advanced numbers say the Rams are the best team in football. Advanced statistical numbers, DVOA, EPA, blah blah blah. Say they're the best team in football, and all of a sudden they can't win games. Maybe it's as simple as not having Devontae Adams. Maybe he gets back to the playoffs. He looked completely healthy yesterday. They're being cautious with him. Maybe that is the linchpin that makes them the best team again. But, I mean, they're not that good. Again, tallest short guy at the circus. They are the best team, but they haven't been able to lock things down, obviously, in the West. And from the Eagles' perspective, you could start playing that game. Well, you'd like to avoid them, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think you can approach it that way. I mean, eventually, if they are the best team, you're going to have to beat them somewhere. So whether that's first round of the NFC Championship, however it shakes out, you got to beat them. Just like last year, it was the toughest matchup. You can talk about the NFC Championship game. You can talk about the Super Bowl, and they're bigger deals, but their toughest game was the Rams in the divisional round. So that part of it, I mean, if you got to beat them then, you got to beat them then. But I think you've heard a lot about their shift from 11 personnel to 13. Look, I don't care how good you are with 13 playing 3. You're not explosive. You're just making it harder for yourself. Now when Devontae Adams comes back, they don't have to do that as much, and presumably they'll get better. But you certainly shouldn't be fearful of them. I will say that,
especially coming to Philly. I mean, if they're coming to Philly, that's a different ball game.
Yeah, and you saw yesterday with Bijan. I mean, they're a lot better. That was their Achilles heel last year with Saquon.
Right, stopping the run.
Yeah. Now they're a lot better this year, and Landman's a heck of a lot better than Roseboom in the middle of that defense. But they're still
those names sound like they're out of a book or something.
Well, so does Saquon and Bijan.
Yeah,
Saquon
that's true. Roseboom and
Landman and Roseboom. Yeah. Landman's a CBS Paramount show, a Tyler Sheridan show.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've never watched it, but I've seen the show that's out there.
Yeah. But he's a lot better. But they gave I think he had 195 yards. Now one of them was 93-yard touchdown, but they're susceptible. That was the problem last year. They're susceptible to giving up the big run. So yeah, I mean, boy, that Puka Nacua catch, man. Whew. And I call it a catch because it's a catch. And that's you and I were talking before. The NFL is just so stupid. They are so stupid. Now, for fans complaining about it, I will say this. They've called that slight bobble on the back end very consistently this year, to the point that when it happened in the Eagles game with Devontae Smith, I said, that's not a catch. It is a catch, but it's not a catch by their definition. And they overturned it. They're very consistent. They've been very consistent.
Which you want them to be. You do want them to be consistent.
You do.
Yeah.
But this is a league that wants offense, and they're struggling to get offense this year as defenses have caught up. This is a league that is supposed to be an entertainment vehicle. And I don't know, for anybody, you should go online and check it out. This is one of the great catches of all time. That's how good it is. One of the great catches of all time. That is now not a catch because of your stupidity. At the end of the day, 99 out of 100 people say, oh, he caught that football. And then there's this, by the way, one-handed, I'm watching it, drags the toes. And as he turns his body to protect himself to keep the ball, which he keeps the ball as he heads to the ground, there's the slightest movement of the ball. I can't even call it a bobble. The slightest movement of the ball. And they look at that and say he doesn't have complete control on the way to the ground. That is, again, that's an NFL films play that's played for 50, 100 years, as long as we're a society. They'll go back to that play. It's like the OBJ catch. It's like the Jefferson catch against Buffalo. It's that type of catch. No more. Throw it on the cutting room floor. It's not a catch.
I don't know why the NFL does that, man. They as you said, they legislate for offense, and then they take away some of the best offensive plays. It is what it is, John. I like that pet peeve. That you had a couple pet peeves to start the show today, Jay.
A lot. I mean, Atlanta disgusts me. It's like you're gifted because Carolina's not that good. Tampa Bay's even worse.
Oh, that division's a catastrophe.
And you have Bijan Robinson. You have Kyle Pitts playing at his level on a contract year, which, buyer beware, by the way, when he's a free agent. But he's having a great year. You finally got a pass rush with the 2 rookies. You carpet bombing. And let's throw Michael Penix out there. All right. And you got a $50 million quarterback or whatever the hell you paid him on the bench. And as soon as he's forced to come in, all of a sudden they have life. Oh, that's surprising. Well, that's a shocker. Guy knows how to freaking play. These teams, man. But there's a limitation. There's a limitation to the upside. So again, it's Ricky Bobby rules. Well, we can't win the Super Bowl, so we have to try this guy who's incompetent, basically. And I'm being a little harsh. He's not that bad, but he's a legitimate
No, I
starter.
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And the hope is, well, maybe he'll develop. Maybe he'll develop. That's really their hope, Maybe he'll develop. I'm not going to do anything to do that. So it's basically on him. And part of that is the system again that they've set up. You can't work with these guys. You can't do things. You can't practice extra with these guys. So it's basically up to him in the offseason. Does he have that mentality? Does he have that Tom Brady level mentality of work? Well, hopefully for them, he does. I have no idea. Never met the kid. I don't want to pick on him. I know they just wasted a season. I know that, but they didn't have to waste. And you don't know if you get into the playoffs, maybe your defense
here.
Yeah. Maybe your defense has a great year and you can win a different way. Get to the freaking dance, man.
Speaking of the dance, John, it's starting to look good for the Eagles, man. Nick Sirianni spoke yesterday. J-Mac, I saw your tweet that based on what Nick said, he didn't explicitly say one way or the other, but you get the feeling that starters will be rested in Week 18. Is that what you're thinking right now, J-Mac? And what did you hear from Nick yesterday that made you tweet that out?
He emphasized 2023, which was obviously the collapse season. But for people that don't remember, going into Week 18, the Eagles had a chance to still win the NFC East. Now, Dallas would have to lose at home, I believe, to Washington, who was a terrible team. And the Cowboys were really good that year, 12, 13 wins. And it was 21-0 by halftime. They won 38-10. So it was pretty clear early on. And the Eagles are playing the Giants up at MetLife in that crappy stadium. And AJ gets hurt and Reed gets hurt. And by the time they pulled guys, and they pulled guys pretty early, AJ was already hurt and was unable to play in the next week. Reed was unable to play the next week. Lane didn't play in that game. And the rest is history. They got blown out. But I think that's very cognizant. They're very cognizant of that. And then also pointed out the 2 times they got to the Super Bowl, they had a bye. Now, the first time they were the number 1 seed, so it's built in. But the second time they kind of worked it, manipulated it. And, that's why I tweeted out. It certainly seemed he was hinting at, we're going to rest our guys. Now, things changed. I think everybody assumed the Rams would win. Maybe you want to play that game. Maybe you don't want to be matched up with the Rams. There's no maybe. I mean, you'd prefer to play the Packers. And if you're the number 2 seed, you're playing the Packers. So maybe it becomes, after last night, it shifts the thinking. We shall see, to be determined. I'm of the mentality that, you got to beat them at some point, as I said. So
yeah, but I agree with that. But at the end of the day, remember last year we never had to play the Lions. Like, I'd rather put 37-year-old Matthew Stafford through the gauntlet of the playoffs and let him go through that, and then have to play Philly. But
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with all
yeah,
that,
I'm
but
just
I'm
saying
just
if I
saying
had choice,
I'm
that's
not
what
going to
I would choose.
manipulate and I'm not going to manipulate my plan just to avoid the Rams. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And just because I believe it doesn't mean he might be trying to. He may trying to fool us, Nick, with competitive advantage, but certainly the 2 seed's better than the 3 seed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious. You'd prefer to have it. Chicago is not a lock to beat Detroit. Again, I
Chicago's
get
gotten better though. I think they're a legit team going into the playoffs. I mean, remember that's a team that ran for 281 on us, and now their passing game is starting to come along. I think they're a solid team in the playoffs. Actually,
well, I mean,
they don't have the. They don't have
I
the
know a lot of people are going to look at the Sunday night game and say, "Oh, that's pretty impressive." Again, games have personalities, and yes, it was a pretty impressive offensive performance, but on the other side is pretty dismal defensive performance. So, and I'm not too worried that whatever that score was, 42-38, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about the Eagles giving up 38 points
No,
against
they're not.
Chicago.
But the thing with the Eagles, I mean, because I agree, playoff football, I mean, you need defense, but the Eagles haven't really taken advantage of bad defenses this year. So I don't know how many points, like just because you're playing a bad defense, does that mean the Eagles are going to put up 30? I don't.
No, but they're not going to get, then it becomes
Yeah, right.
the shootout against Philadelphia is like 28-24 or whatever.
Well, the thing I like about the Eagles is that they dictate they dictate the personalities of games because of their defense, which is a great thing, obviously.
Yeah, and they let defenses dictate to them offensively.
Yeah, but
So,
overall in the game, I mean, I think they do manage that part of it overall.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not fearful of Chicago. I'm just not. I mean, I think they have to go through a step. I give them credit, but I think they don't know how to win. They got a bunch of players who haven't done it before. Playoffs are different. Maybe guys on the defense, maybe TJ Edwards and CJ can impart some of that on the defensive side. Offensively, you got a bunch of guys. You got and DeAndre on the offense. They got a bunch of ex-Eagles, but other than that, Caleb, second-year player, first time. Kyle Monungai's a rookie. Burden's a rookie. If Adunze comes back, he's never been involved. Now the offensive, even guys,
it's actually almost been better without Adunze, weirdly.
Well, yeah, because Burden's played so well.
Burden's played well, and Caleb's spreading the ball around. I mean, Loveland's
the tight ends are starting, and Loveland's a rookie. They have good. Cole Kmet's a good tight end.
I agree. It doesn't look like they're ready yet. I mean, but you have seen quarterbacks in year 2 make a run before. I remember Jalen Hurts year 2 starting. He walked his way right to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. I think they are a good team, and I really like Ben Johnson. John, I think he's a great coach. I really do.
I think he's a great.
I think he's handled the other part of it well too. I mean, I know you always talk about the other part of the job. I know it's a small sample size, only 1 year so far, but I think he's managed the other parts of the games pretty well for a guy who's known for his offensive play calling and his schematics. I think he's done pretty well at that.
Well, I think he's a great. And more than great, he's a sexy play designer and schemer. I mean, people are drawn to him because of the tricks and that shit. And again, that cost him in Detroit last year. People forget.
I don't know. That's the part of him I actually don't like. I wish sometimes he would just keep it to the main offense.
Exactly. So I mean, there's a give and take to that. The reason he's so popular is because of that stuff, and bit him in the ass last year. Did he learn from it? We're going to see.
Yeah. Caleb's coming too. I mean, Caleb's taking a step forward. There's no doubt about that. So it's going to be an interesting one. John, I was thinking about this with the Eagles too, and I'm guilty of this. There's no doubt. And this team has been, there have been moments where it's been ugly this year. But, I mean, you come in this year, John, after winning the Super Bowl last year, They had a first-place schedule this year. They had no back-to-back home games. They had 5 or 6 short weeks. They had 6 primetime games, and they played, I think, what did they play? 10 or 11 playoff teams from last year, and they could finish the season 12-5.
They stink. They stink.
This has been a pretty successful season. I don't know what to make of the offense. It's obviously not great, but I mean, all things considered, that's a pretty impressive run that this team is on, and that's why I think everybody should have some confidence going into the postseason.
They stink, and the coaches are bozos. No, yeah, it is very, and you see how hard it is to win in the league. I mean, think about it. Oh, the Rams. Well, the Eagles are right there, same record. How many Detroit's not in the playoffs? Minnesota, 15 wins, not in the playoffs. Minnesota, 14 wins, not in the playoffs.
Yep.
Different reasons. Detroit just injuries and upheaval, panic, I would argue. Changing play callers, part of it. Minnesota, bad personnel decisions, to say the least.
Yep. Which you called early.
But it's all part of it. You got to have all these parts working in concert to win consistently. It's just really hard to win consistently in this league. And when teams do it like Kansas City, like Buffalo on the AFC side, and it's been, the Eagles on the NFC side, it's impressive, and people should recognize that. But, there's nothing wrong with raising the expectations, and the Eagles have certainly done that. And they hold themselves up to high expectations as well, which is a good thing. But, yeah, when you go into Buffalo in December, and it's still Buffalo with Josh Allen, and you come out with a win, just again, they've won double digits for 7 consecutive years, even more than the Eagles in the Josh Allen era. So that's a big win when they're trying to win the game, and they're trying to win the game. That's a big win. No matter how it looks, and it looked pretty ugly. Now, a lot of that contributed to it. The weather, the offense, but it's a signature win. And as you mentioned, all right, you can look at all these teams and you can poke holes in all these teams, all these playoff teams, including the Eagles. The Eagles aren't nearly as good as they were last year. I think we could all agree with that. I'm sure there's some drinking the Kool-Aid that, the defense is better. It's not. It's very good, but it's not. The offense is probably closer to last year's offense, to be honest, but it's not as good because of the running game.
Yeah, right.
So they're not as good either. But as you mentioned, 10 playoff, that they're like 8-2. I mean, at some point, you got to say that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm starting to say is, as much as a better offense is desired by many, me included, do they even need it? I mean, you just go to Buffalo. That's what I was saying yesterday on the afternoon show. People are like, oh, they're going to be one and done with that offense. I'm like, you just went to Buffalo and had 0 completions in the second half and still won. We're one of the best teams in the NFL and one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, they can beat anybody, even with this offense, if they don't get going. Now, it'd be nice, obviously, to get the offense going, and the margin is small right now, but the margin's normally small in the NFL. That's normal.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, last year, they won the Super Bowl. They scored some points, obviously, points per game. The efficiency was better, but it's all tied to the running game. Last year, they averaged 179 rushing yards per game, 179 per game. This year it's 119. So the total numbers are 367 last year, 312 this year. Well, if they had the same rushing yards, they're right there. Same team. Same exact team. Same exact team offensively. Same issues, inconsistency in the passing game. You have these ugly. They had 7 of them last year. They had a bunch of them this year. I'm not saying that's good, but basically the same team. They can't run the football like they ran last year. That's the difference between last year's offense and this year's offense. And the offensive line, by the way, watching that game, they were brutal, the interior of the offensive line. Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen.
They were bad.
Brutal. Brutal.
I don't know what's going on with Cam, man. He keeps getting worse.
Getting beaten one-on-ones against not a very good defense, by the way. You know, God forbid if Ed Oliver was healthy. Boy, he would have had a field day.
Yeah, it almost seems like it doesn't matter who's on the defensive line of the other team. They're beating Cam Jurgens.
I mean, Landon can't move, man. Can't move.
Cam too, though, man. John, some of the clips of Cam are crazy. I mean, one play he didn't even get a hand on something. Guy, he snaps the ball, looks up, and the guy's 2 steps past him.
Yeah. The one play was everybody we whiffed. I mean,
he had a couple of those though in the game.
You know, people whiff. It is comical that he made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean that's just, if there's ever an indictment for the Pro Bowl voting, there it is.
I like what Vic Fangio said. Get a committee because it does matter for these players.
Yeah. Boy, if the offensive line plays like that, they're going to have problems. I mean,
you know what I'm saying though, with like why I think that even if they have the problems, they could still win games. I get it. The defense is going to get worn out.
Well, yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, they're able to win games.
If you can win in Buffalo late in December, with 13 points on the board and 0 completions and 16 yards and a half of football. I mean, shit, you can beat anybody. Now, that's not no guarantee they will. They could win or they could lose. That's every game. But shit, man. I'm having a hard time to lose.
They had 8 dropbacks in the second half. That's it, because they couldn't get a first down. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't do anything. They had 8 dropbacks. 1 was a sack and 4 were throwaways.
Yep.
They had 3 legitimate targets. 2 of them were to Devontae Smith, which were basically, he's throwing it up to him. On the third, which was the catch he should have made and did make, but they overturned because the NFL's stupid. And then the one at the end, which was basically a back shoulder 50-50. And he had a chance to catch it. And I forget the other one. I forget the third one. That's a half of football. You got 3 legitimate dropbacks. Now, I know everybody wants to blame KP, and that's fine. And, I do think when you're struggling to that degree, even though I hate it, throw a bubble screen, throw a screen, give him a layup, give him some confidence, get some tempo, get a first down. And then maybe things start to click a little bit. And I think that's where I would start with the coaches. You got to do a better job of manufacturing a first down and hoping. Then some tempo. Then you can go tempo, which Jalen excels at. But here's what also bothered me. They're coming off a game, and again, it's largely dependent on the opposing defense. But you can dictate as an offense if you want to. They got all these condensed sets. A week after spreading things out and gashing the
rest. I mean, I know they wanted to win that game, but do you think they bottled some of it up? I mean, they had this great thing going the previous couple of weeks, John, with the empty backfield, with the 5 wide and all that. They didn't do it once. So I was wondering, like, did they try and be ultra
Wow.
vanilla? I don't know. I mean, maybe not. But
Well, part of it, I assume, and I'm going to talk to Kevin today, but part of it, I assume, was the weather. Part of it was, I assume, they thought they could run the football against a bad running team, and they did. I mean, it makes sense. On paper, coming into the game, they're terrible against the run. The Eagles had started to run the ball efficiently against, granted, bad opponents, but opponents nonetheless in Las Vegas and Washington. So I get the mentality coming into the game, but when it's not working and they're selling out to stop the run and guys aren't blocking, then you got to shift a little bit. So that would be my biggest criticism of the coaching staff. But what I say all the time is, and you probably heard me say this a million times, Zander, if you can't fucking block people, you can't play offense. And they couldn't block people, that hasn't happened for a very long time in Philadelphia. Now, similar to the Rams, getting Lane Johnson back, presumably, if he's coming back, is going to help.
You do think he's coming back, right?
Yes. But I think it's fair to put that caveat because, Schefter's out there every week manufacturing the Sunday bullshit. Oh, he's going to be back in practice. Ian, by the way, that's the grift. You guys should figure that out. And he hasn't been back. So you at least have to put that in people's minds. And when he does come back, presumably for the first game of the playoffs, he's going to be out for how many weeks? There's going to be some rust, but still he's going to be better than Fred. And as poorly as Cam and Landon have played compared to their reputations, those were really bad games for them. That Buffalo game was really bad for them specifically. So you presume they're going to play at least a little bit better. And the same thing with Tyler Steen. That was one of his worst games. So you presume he's going to play a little bit better. And then maybe things take care of itself, similar with the Rams and Devontae Adams. Maybe he comes back and everything's back to normal and they turn back into the Rams, potentially. So that's got to be your hope with the Eagles. But if you can't block people, you can't play offense. You can do some different things, and the coaches should have done some different things. But if you keep whiffing blocks, it's not going to look good. And that was a poor performance by the Eagles offensive line, which is how many years have we done this show? How many times have I come on and said that? I mean, that is usually the biggest strength they have. And all of a sudden, it's turned into a weakness, specifically in the run blocking aspect of it. Pass blocking's been okay. The run blocking has been
brutal,
awful.
Yeah. Nothing. No doubt about it, John. Interesting year this year, though, man. The Eagles can still do what they need to do. It feels weird to say because I know it's been ugly at times, but it's all setting up for the Eagles in the postseason. Let's see if they're able to make a run.